Hello and welcome to Leviathan News for the third time today. Wow, this is a record. But we have on Alex, aka Thiccythot, who we wanted to get on because he was talking Pepe. And honestly, I don't know where you learned to write tweets, but I was very impressed. So we had to have you on. So welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Yeah, pleased to be on. I appreciate you guys having me on.
So there's actually a bunch of stuff that we're going to get into, but the tweets that at least I saw, and I think everybody else saw as well too, was this one with genius copywriting. Honestly, got to say that first, which starts out that you spent a Friday night indexing 482,633 on-chain transactions, and you came up with this analysis of Pepe. So, like, what exactly did you learn, and was there anything surprising about Pepe?
Yeah, totally. I think that like the sort of parabolic price action of like crypto, especially in crypto meme coins, has always been like a huge behavioral phenomenon that's like drawn in like billions of dollars and also like hundreds of thousands of eyes watching it. And just kind of like dissecting the sort of science behind how these things are manufactured and like I guess actually how much money people can make from this is like sort of an interesting thought to me. So yeah, I originally posted something on Wednesday looking at just the amount of gas Pepe was burning because I was just like trying to transact my ETH wallet. I was noticing transactions cost like 30, 40, 50 bucks. I was like, well, what is going on, right? And that got a lot of good feedback. So decided to like sort of deep dive into Pepe. And yeah, I guess people liked what they saw.
Yeah, all of us really want you to like kind of go into your deep dive and give us the synthesis. But yeah, man, like it's been a wild like couple days, and it's interesting to hear that like you mostly got interested in this from a gas perspective first, and then like are like going down the meme coin rabbit hole. But before we talk about Pepe, can you just tell us like how you came to shitcoins, like how you got into this, like what you find exciting about this, and like again, we this is so crazy and like so nebulous and whatever. Like, how did you find your passion here, or a passion here?
Yeah, totally. I'll give you a little background on myself. I actually got into crypto really late, like late 21. I always like owned some Bitcoin and ETH just to like with some, pocket change in college, but I didn't actually start working in crypto until 21.
You're early.
You're earlier than me, like legitimately.
Oh, fair enough. One cycle ahead of you guys then. Yeah, I worked at like a high frequency trading firm as a quant trader for around 3 years before I realized that like crypto is a lot more profitable than pretty much any job on the earth. So I left that to just I built a DeFi protocol for a year with friends, and I didn't work out so well because we were building on Solana. Yeah, SPF kind of put us over, and yeah, I've been trading my own capital with like under like a prop fund with me and my friend, and honestly, I'm pretty pissed that like I saw Pepe at like 30, 40 million market cap, and I kind of just I didn't respect the pump, and it just kept going up and up, and yeah, that's how I initially found out about it. I'm curious how you guys found out about it.
Crypto Twitter.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I think someone shared it in the Lobster DAO gated chat at like $10 million.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Yeah. I know. I've spent the last like week going back through all my chats and being like, which one of you guys I know one of you told me about Bitcoin before this crap went off. I know one of you guys told me about Pepe before. Now I need to know who to like listen to on the next cycle.
So gas fees have been crazy, honestly. This is feeling like 2021 again, 2022. So was it like, can you walk us through what you found about the gas fees?
Yeah. So obviously like block space on Ethereum is very limited. So like when there's a lot of demand for block space, especially when people are willing to pay up in priority fees in order to transact faster, it tends to make everyone's network expenses, a lot higher. And typically like on Ethereum, like back when things weren't that active on chain, maybe earlier this year, like gas fees would cost maybe like $3 to $10 to like send a transaction, you do Uniswap swap. And yeah, given all this activity, all this demand for block space, especially like, block space as quickly as possible, so they can like dump their PEPE to other people. It definitely pushes up the prices by a lot.
Yeah, awesome, man. So kind of digging into your thread a little bit, I like each tweet is like kind of a different point and a different chart, and like there's some things that I want to talk about and ask about. But before we just start picking it apart, like what are your high level takeaways from your analysis?
Yeah, definitely the high level takeaways are that the liquidity and the supply of a token can be sort of, I wouldn't say manipulated, but they can be configured to like maximize the chances of these parabolic moves. And like obviously, given the flexibility of crypto, like making it like squeeze as high as possible is definitely in their best interest to get attention. So we kind of just dig into the science of how it's done and like, yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit more, actually? Because like I think we understand here that there is a relation between the amount of liquidity that would be in the Uniswap contract here versus the amount of PEPE or whatever coin that you have as being held. And there's a fine line between, I don't think you can argue against like too much liquidity, but if there's too much liquidity, then it keeps it from going up, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot more pressure to push it higher. But if there's too little liquidity, then traders get a little freaked out, right? As soon as the first trades go through, your slippage is going to be a lot higher and you won't actually be able to realize any profits. So like from your analysis, what is that happy medium?
Yeah, definitely. I think like the big thing we've learned from crypto, especially from a behavioral perspective, is that like price going up is like the biggest unifying force in the sort of like postmodern capitalistic world. So like maximizing that is like a priority for attention, and like attention is like currency in this game. So you definitely want to, and at the end of the day, like price is a relative thing. Like price, there is no such thing as like an absolute price. Like price is just a reflection of where like buyers and sellers are willing to meet. So if you constrain the supply, it makes it a lot easier for demand to overrun the supply and then parabolically drive up the price. And that's done by having a liquidity pool, like especially like an XYK liquidity pool. That's what Uniswap is based on. That keeps liquidity small enough so that like it's very easy for demand to drive up the price parabolically.
So let me just like make a distinction right now in like insiders and like FOMOers, right? Where it's like the insiders are the ones that like, I don't know, you could like cut this a bunch of different ways, but like, let's just say we're like originally involved in the project and the deployment of the project. Like those people have like very specific incentives that like are not necessarily aligned with like the rest of the community. And like your charts really put a fine point on that. But one of the things that's like super interesting about DeFi is like the whole permissionless nature. And so like one of the things, being naive about this, that I would think is that like, okay, if you try to manufacture a shitcoin by keeping so super low liquidity, like wouldn't you expect all the anons to provide liquidity?
I think we did see some of that. Like a lot of people thought, like especially given the fee tier, people will provide liquidity. But looking at like providing liquidity on a coin that trends is typically a losing sort of uphill battle, just because like when it does trend, you get adversely selected, and that you end up with more of the coin that like is worth less. So like it's not very attractive. I think like if you're buying a meme coin, you're buying it for that like 100x, and like if you're providing liquidity in 100x's, like you miss out like versus hodling by like 90% or some crazy amount.
Can I make a distinction there? Is that like if the liquidity is really low, right? You may even if it 20x's or 30x's, you might be holding too much that you just can't get rid of. So providing liquidity as it goes up is just another byproduct of DCAing out, right? So you're essentially selling out your position as the price goes up. So even though you're taking less returns, when you actually pull it from that Uniswap V2 contract, now you've sold off like a really good portion of your position, and you get to pull out ETH, and then you're left with like half of that value in whatever coin that you have. Then you can dump it in the market and keep all your ETH, and then take the other ETH back, which will be a little bit lower than what you pulled it out as. So
Yeah.
I think there is a place for, especially if you can use Uniswap V3. I mean, you can set price ranges to get in and out at. So I think there's more distinction. Yeah,
totally. I think I think another distinction on your distinction is that like I think it's very smart to DCA out by providing liquidity, but you shouldn't provide like symmetric liquidity. Like if you want to like DCA out of your PEPE, you should like provide one-sided or like more skewed towards the selling, because you don't want PEPE to go down and then you end up with more PEPE. That's
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can use Uniswap V3 to start like single-sided, and then let people like buy into your position until you're fully sold out, and then take all your ETH back or whatever.
I think it's very smart.
Yeah.
So I'm just scrolling through your tweets. I think like the first one that I find like super interesting is the P&L chart. Like I don't know if we want to zoom to that, or if there's anything that you want to talk about before. I'm specifically looking at the tweet number 4. But is there anything you want to talk about kind of before we jump forward there?
No, let's dive into it.
Yeah. So for me, like this number 4 together with number 6, like really paint the picture of like what PEPE is. And it's about like, no matter how much the energy seems to be increasing, it like all it does is like lock in that the people at the very beginning are the winners and everyone else is in like a more precarious situation. And so I don't know, like when you Thicky or anyone on this call like sees this chart, like I mean, this is just like a pump and dump, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it does stress that like most of the gains accrue to the early people, especially the insiders. And like you were saying earlier, the insiders are incentivized. Like when you launch a coin, like from a perspective of a coin launcher, like you want to sort of paint the chart. You want it to make it go up only, and you also want to give yourself an allocation. And you can't actually start with giving yourself an allocation, because that just looks kind of sketchy. Like you should start with 100% of the allocation in the pool, and then you buy the wallets or you buy the coins. And a lot of times they'll split it up into many separate different wallets, so it doesn't look like it's a huge whale that has a concentrated supply. It looks like organically like a bunch of different users are buying this thing. But in actuality, it's just like a team with like 20 different wallets. It's a lot easier to dump that way too. So you can dump bit by bit without like scaring everyone that like, oh, the whale's dumping, because they don't know they're all correlated. And like when you do launch a coin and you like buy it up, like the natural thing you do is like you tell all your friends, like, and they buy it a little bit, and like basically like your circle of like closeness starts out with like most of the coins.
Yeah.
And that's what like I mean by insiders. And I mean, to be fair, there still has like a few $100 million of value generated for like people who bought in late. But like, yeah, this does seem to stress that like the insiders, especially people who got bought in the first week, like accrued most of the value. So don't feel too bad about missing out.
Well, the other thing that's like particularly scary is, Sam, if you'll progress 2 tweets, this graph shows that
Is this
like, correct me if I'm wrong, Thicky, but are you saying that we've only realized, like per week, we're realizing $10 million of TVL? Or sorry, we're realizing $10 million of realized gains. Like only, I guess like when I look at this, this seems like a pretty clear like asymptote line, you know, where like we might be reaching like the peak of the ability to realize P&L.
Yeah, I think to be fair, this is also the x-axis is a little complicated. It's not like the actual time; it's like the first time they swapped. So
okay.
like, yeah, so they could have realized the P&L a lot later, but like the first time they swapped was early. This is just trying to show like how much P&L has been captured by the insiders. But I mean, as you see towards the end, it is sloping down. And if you use like the most recent data, it will be negative because PEPE gone down maybe 66% something. So it does show that people bought late for the first time, like they're exit liquidity basically.
Yeah.
But for the market cap, relative to the market cap, this kind of P&L is still relatively tame, right? I mean, there's been, I don't know, $175,000 worth of P&L versus a market cap. I think it peaked at what, like
million.
1.6 billion, or 175 million versus a market cap of 1.6 billion at the top.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Like, what is the ratio of like the ability to realize profits out of a shitcoin cycle? I think that probably tells you how much staying power it has, right? And like, I would love to compare this to Doge and like Shiba that actually have stuck around.
Definitely. One caveat I'll add is that this doesn't calculate the realized P&L on a centralized exchange. So I think the number is actually around $100 million more, given how much has been sold off on Binance and OKEx. It's actually quite hard to calculate for Doge and Shiba now, especially since there's a lot of trading on sexes. You don't get to see like the user's P&L. But it would be interesting to compare like back when Doge and Shiba were trading exclusively on chain. I don't know if there was a time for Doge, but like Shiba, yes, like on ETH.
Yeah.
What that compares to, I imagine around the same. Because like Shiba was like 46 billion market cap at its peak. It's insane.
So, I know the thing about what was different about Doge and Shiba was that PEPE happened in like the course of 2 weeks. It went from 0 to 1.6 billion. Like even Shiba took a couple of months, where it probably took 4 or 5 months for it to go. So like a lot of people that I know bought Shiba on like the first day and realized like a 10x on their profits. And we're like, hey, that's great. Like I made some money. Like I turned 1 ETH into 10 ETH. I'm done. Like, and then like you go back and you look at the Etherscan transaction now, and it tells it like the present day value. It's like $150 million. Had they like stayed in, right? So, and I think it's the same thing for Doge as well. Is like Doge is one of those ones where it's been around for years, and so like the cycling of users in and out of that is able to clear. But in PEPE, it's just everybody that bought in, it's up only, right? There was no like period where it fluctuates, people are selling in and out, and you like clear out the early either insiders or like people who are just buying in the beginning. It just literally went straight up.
Yeah, it's really good.
So what do you guys think? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's like you mentioned, having that sort of cyclical up down over a long period of time is a lot healthier, because like you want like everyone to get a bite, and like you want everyone to exchange hands multiple different times rather than just going straight up. And I think it's quite unhealthy and like quite prone to toppling and just like killing itself. It does build up too high. It's almost like you want to like burn down like the forest to like keep it healthy from like burning down from like too much. And I think it does speak to like a really pervasive theme across this cycle, is that like all of the themes from like last cycle and the cycles before are like being speed run in the cycle. Like, people understand the meta and the patterns, and they're just like progressing 5 times faster. And like I think PEPE versus SHIB and Doge is like a really good example of that.
So what do you guys think? Does anyone think that PEPE has staying power even like in the shadow of Shiba and Doge, or is this like is this going to be like the Goblin Town, like something that like caught our imagination for a little bit and like is just gone from like the conversation?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm bearish, but that's probably a buy signal for people.
Yeah.
Do you guys hold any Doge or SHIB out of curiosity?
I do have a little Doge.
A little Doge.
I bought Doge because I was talking with everyone who was younger than me in the last cycle, and they were all saying that they had Doge, whereas anyone older than me didn't. And I thought, okay, maybe like Gen Z knows something I don't, so might as well like have a small bag.
I think it's smart.
And went down like 50%.
Rest in peace. My personal, I think Kobe had a really good quote on this. Is that like he said that like perhaps every new generation decides to opt out of the previous generation's Ponzi and like create one of their own. And I think this is a good example of that. At the end of the day, no one wants to buy an old meme coin that like might not have that much significance to them, that like has a bunch of like bag holders, a bunch of baggage, basically, poor distribution, not much of a clean narrative. I think you saw that a lot with SHIB at 420. Like if you remember, like SHIB came to be around like 420 like a couple years ago in 2021, I believe. And this year, leading up to 420, like Doge pumped up and had a narrative, but SHIB didn't move at all. It was almost just like complete apathy towards SHIB. And I think like I think SHIB's going. I think SHIB's going to die. I think Doge will stay because it's got that provenance, kind of just like how Bitcoin stays. And like SHIB could have been like the Ethereum of meme coins, but they just never ended up adding any like sort of like utility or added benefit over Doge that Ethereum has over Bitcoin. Like SHIB
Actually-
with the and like metaverse stuff. Or I'm curious if you have an opposing take, but that's like my take on SHIB.
No, that makes sense. And actually, it's I'm curious to know if you've been following any of the other meme coins, since I imagine you can just hook your Jupyter notebook up to the other Dune dashboards for like Wojak and all the other ones. It might well be the case that one of these other ones like adds on something to their ecosystem, right? Like Shiba was talking about Shiba Swap. Like, are there other meme coins that might actually start to build an empire out of like the limited attention they've got in your estimation?
Mm,
Or are
I
you just
haven't looked too
Pepe
much into
focused
them.
only?
Yeah, I mean, unless it has like a cool sort of mechanic on top, like I haven't like some of them are like print the Pepe or something, and every time you sell, it ends up like buying Pepe. But like if it doesn't have a cool mechanic, then I guess I'm not really bullish, but I haven't looked too closely on it, so I'm willing to change my mind on it.
Let me
Yeah,
start,
we
like,
get it.
meme
You're a
coin.
Pepe Maxi. No big deal. Pepe Maxi. So, question for you. Like in my head, like all of this meme coin stuff just came out of nowhere. And like if I'm looking backwards, like I can probably like, correlate it with what I will call the Arthur Hayes narrative, which is essentially like the banks are broken, therefore all the assets are going to go up, which like when you take a step back and think about it, it's pretty funny. But so like, I don't know, like I can imagine just like some of like the energy coming back around like the Silicon Valley Bank timeline and like being channeled into meme coins, just like, I don't know, because we're bored and there's like idle capital or whatever. But do you have any better sense of like, one, what started this, and two, like what did it start to look like on chain and like in the markets before like all of us caught wind of it, because like I can't fucking afford to buy our ENS name.
Yeah, I think like it's kind of common wisdom in cycles that like the meme coin rally, and especially like the shitcoin rally, is typically like a top signal. It's typically like a signal, and I think the reason behind that is because like usually like BTC and ETH lead, and then like BTC leads, and then it moves on to ETH, and then it moves on to like altcoins, and then like finally when like retail has finally caught wind of crypto doing well, they finally join the space, and retail people like who are uninformed are always late. So they come in late to the cycle and they start like punting shitcoins and whatever is new, whatever kind of just appeals to them, like the parabolic price movement. And yeah, I think it's a good signal that like this sort of mini bull cycle we've seen in 2023 is like coming to a close, assuming no other inorganic action. I'm curious if you have the same sort of insight, trader's insight.
I think that the Pepe potentially is kicking off something, right? Because there's been a couple of other deployments that I've seen even today. Like this morning, I woke up and I saw a brand new Ponzu that looked really fun. Can I name it? Do you guys mind if I like drop some?
Chill.
Financial advice.
Not financial advice, but I woke up and somebody dropped some information about this thing called Lotus, where
I've seen.
Yeah, did you see that? Like,
yeah, I didn't look into it, but people have been shilling that in my chats too.
So they essentially like the tokens get released and then it collects ETH and it starts raising the floor higher and higher and higher. And like if you want to, you can mint out the tokens, but you have to go to higher price to donate your ETH to the floor, and the price to buy tokens at and the floor keeps on widening as time goes on. So I don't know, maybe that makes it, but at least it shows that there's like innovation in the space as well too.
Shitcoin.
Well, no, I mean people love it. No, people love look, people love the games, right? Because if you can create a game which is complex but fun at the same time, in the sense that like it's easy to understand and oh hey, the chart moves a little bit, but has like some deeper strategy that you can use. Like back in 2020, we had all of like the algo stable Ponzus, right? Like DSD and ESD. Those are super fun. People loved it because like if you come up with a new game that nobody's ever played before, and it just becomes a blast. Like people have to like figure out the strategy for that game, and it may be beatable. People may figure it out. So like the first game always gets a ton of like hype and press, and money just flows into it. But then like all the forks after that, the strategy has already been figured out, and like your edge goes to zero. So like, and especially with these meme coins as well, you always want to be in the first meme coin. You don't want to be in the derivatives as well, because the derivatives are just like shitty and people are probably trying to take money away from you, versus the main one may have some sticking power. So I don't know. It's like the resurgence of some of these new Ponzi games, plus all the Bitcoin stuff, like that and PEPE. I don't know. It's exciting to see people are having fun in the markets again, which is what you want, right? And maybe the Bitcoin thing is like the new narrative for summer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Totally. Is Lotus similar to Ohm? Because I always thought Ohm was like, beautiful chef's kiss type of Ponzi.
Yeah,
I'm just in your exit liquidity.
Ohm was a beautiful Ponzi. Ohm was like the peak of Ponzi games.
Yeah.
For 2021 and 2022. I think Lotus has some weird stuff that it does with like Uniswap and like using the Uniswap V3 pools to like create concentrated liquidity, like for the floor and then for where you buy tokens as well too. So it essentially adjusts the floor up where all the liquidity, where all the ETH sits higher and higher and higher as people go and buy like chunks of concentrated tokens, right? I think.
I mean, yeah.
Cool idea.
You're being clear. It's just like
it's hard to see without it. It's hard to see without a thing. Let me see if I can get a picture. Here, this
Who
is.
could we get from Lotus to talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
become a meme coin focused podcast here.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a meme coin focused space in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Got to go where the puck's going.
I mean, honestly, I think like I'll take that as like a moment to just like sober up the conversation a little bit, because like Sam, I hope so bad you're right that this is the start of like new energy into the space. And like, I'm like a 4K ETH bag holder. Like I really need the next cycle to start, but I just like, I see so much more desperation and like people like on their last legs and like willing to throw anything at something.
How it always is. Like,
no, I'm saying that's what I see right now.
It's always like that, though.
Yeah, but dude, that's because our like is not the
especially in like the no, but like, like every cycle is always like this. Everybody's like spending way too much, gambling.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with these meme coins as well.
That's exactly what I'm saying, man. That's exactly what I'm saying. Is that like we always get to the part of the cycle where it's like the desperate people who just need, like, are willing to like throw away their whole life at a chance for money. Like it really scares me to see that today, because like I don't think that our ecosystem is ready to support that energy yet. I think like there's still so much overhang from FTX. There's still so much fear around regulatory uncertainty. There's like,
yeah, but this is like totally the big stuff that happens in the real world is like totally so far away from what happens in this little Ponzi space, right? Like the Ponzi space is singular because it's very counterculture, you could think. Have you ever read like the mops and the psychos and whatever that article is about? How like think about it like a band, right? Like Ponzi's are like little indie bands that are just playing for their friends, right? And everybody likes it because there's a ton of deep meaning into it. Maybe the lyrics are really good, and all of a sudden like they just blow up overnight, right? Where now it's like you have millions of people who are just like normies who like the thing that you liked so much, and obviously now it doesn't become cool anymore and it just kind of like fades to irrelevance eventually. That's mostly what we're dealing with here. So like the best place to be is like in the culture, like watching the fucking feed for 12 hours a day for the whatever new token is going to pop up, and then figuring it out quickly within the first 10 minutes whether it's viable, and then dumping a little bit of money into it and then trying to ride the wave. That's like 90% of what being successful as a meme coin trader is.
Yeah, what gets me scared is that I think that most of the people participating in that are not like in it for the culture. They're in it because they're fucking desperate.
I don't know.
I think.
Go ahead. You're the guest.
I can. Yeah. I feel like I see where someone's coming from, where it's like people look at, especially the people who made it in 21, like they basically got really giga rewarded for taking on a ton of risk. And a lot of it was just because, the global macro conditions with like the excess liquidity like allowed many winners to be created. And like we kind of fit our like pattern matching on like what was successful last cycle to what is now. And even though I think that like I still think you can be a quite successful meme coin trader if you are very, you know, good about risk management and you know, very diligent in doing your stuff. But like now I think is not the time to go balls to the wall ham. I almost feel like you're kind of blowing your load too early if you go now. Just because like the macro situation with liquidity isn't quite there yet. I think we could easily get it in 24, given like the political situation there. And you know, if Jay Powell fucks up and we have to cut rates again, like you can easily just cut too much and we get another 21 type cycle. Maybe not as large, but like much larger than it is now. So yeah, I think I would exercise caution to the readers to like make sure that you don't blow out and like save powder for other cycles. But it does seem like it is positively, you know, asymmetric to dabble a little bit in Ponzus if you can manage it carefully, is like my take.
All right, let me wrapper this up in like some liability shield for us, which is like I think Sam, like ultimately you're right that if you can look at shitcoins and Ponzi's as a game that is like very much controlled and contained into this sphere, and like you will never chase bad money with good money, like that's something that is okay, and like not financial advice, but like that's a realm that's worth like considering. Like what's not okay is thinking like, oh my God, ETH is already at 4 digits. Like I've already lost my chance at generational wealth. Like I need to go find like 100 X's. And like, if that's ever even remotely the same pattern as the thoughts in your head, like that's how people lose everything.
Yes, that is how people lose everything. I mean, mainly people lose everything by getting late in the cycle and taking on debt and leverage.
Which we might be with PEPE.
Do not mortgage your home to buy PEPE.
Yeah.
That is financial advice.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't know. I'm a little like I have nothing left to say about meme frogs, but Thicky, you got anything else for us?
Yeah, I think that's it for me. Feel free to follow me on Twitter if you want to, you know, get insights on whatever you're interested in. And yeah, feel free to DM me too.
Yeah. Well,
before we go out, I just want to bring up another kind of tweet thread that my friend Maddie did, and this one he like talks about. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Okay, so he did some really interesting stuff to look into like meme coins, right? So in 2022, they looked at DeFi, they looked at everything in crypto, and they found out that like DeFi only made up of like 2.1% of non-BTC market share, right? And this was like 10 protocols. And meme coins at the same time made up about 2.5% of market share as well too, in only 2 brands, and that was like Doge and Shiba. And so his thesis was that like meme coins are easier products to understand versus complicated DeFi products. That, you know, I can tell my mom about Shiba or Doge and she'd be like, oh, it's a funny looking dog. Like, of course I want to buy that. And, you know, institutions follow retail in crypto, essentially, because institutions are always coming in later. And especially to get to the size that like PEPE gets to, they always have to be later, right? So his thing is like NFTs taught us a valuable lesson. The youth is looking for digitally adjacent products to express their unique aesthetic. The lack of physical communication in our daily lives has left a void of belonging, meaning, and connectivity that our youth seeks in social representation. And Alex, I think this kind of like ties into what you're saying before, or I think it's you saying like every new generation has to have their own little Ponzi, right? And you know, he says that like memes as a brand are no different. The same clothes that high-end brands sell you are made in sweatshops halfway around the world for pennies on the dollar with the same textiles. You still wear them for status or conversation. And if you strip that back, you're just left with like the volatility, right? And so meme market capitalization is roughly $19 billion, maybe $20 billion now with the addition of PEPE. This means a 1% market share of a product market fit idea should reach $190 million market cap. So, and this doesn't even take into account market growth. It's just simply a vacuum. And yeah, so I mean, he keeps going, but essentially like that's his thing, is that like the meme coins are always going to be here. They're probably going to make up 1 to 2% of total market cap going forward. and they're always going to have a place, and they'll just be like brands like anything else. SHIB, Doge, Pepe now,
Pokemon cards.
Pokemon.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we're all like, all of us are like, I don't know about you, Thicky, but like I get to talk with Sam and Rex on a daily basis, and we're all like so far into DeFi, but not everyone cares about like all of our nerd stuff, right? Like, let's expand the casino, right? Let's let them in, because some percentage are going to find their way over, or like some DeFi protocol is going to build ways of shorting or like leveraging these meme coins, and they're going to find their way into DeFi. So I think it expands the playing field. Like, let's embrace it.
For everybody, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I don't know. People choose.
I think it's very. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I was just saying, people choose to enter this like very scary like space for weirdos in whatever way they choose to, and like, who's to say like why is the right reason to show up? Like, all I care is that people like eventually figure out what Ethereum is and like start believing. But yeah, I just like want people to stay safe.
Yeah, totally. I like that. I like that thread a lot. I mean, I think Avi Film tweeted something recently where he said the global market cap for lottery tickets was around 72 billion. And like you said, the market cap for meme coins is 19. They easily like 4x to 72. I mean, like, it's a very efficient way, very open way for people to essentially buy lottery tickets, and like that always, it clearly has some like human utility, some human value. Like, hope is like very, precious. It's very useful for people to have. So like, I don't see, it definitely has some real world value, and yeah, I think they're here to stay.
Yeah, I saw something to the effect of that if you had bought $10 worth of every meme coin since January 1, you would have lost something like $18,000, but you'd be up like $4.1 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Every honeypot.
Everything in the first 10 minutes. But look, use your token scanners to like find out the broken ones. You could probably whittle that down more, but like 10,000 to make 4 million is a pretty asymmetric bet.
Well, the issue is like
gas as well too. Yeah,
they would probably sell out of it. They would probably sell out of it. They'd probably paper hands the good ones too early.
Yeah. I saw that same like thought experiment, and I was like, okay, there has to be something wrong here, right? Like, it sounds like it's printing money, and like the thing that's wrong about that is that assumes you have infinite money to keep putting into stuff, but eventually you're going to need to take from your profits to like put into new investments, right?
Yeah.
And then you lose like the upside, and so I don't know.
Well,
it's a casino, man.
I think it could work like back testing wise, but like I guess the market is efficient and it adjusts. So like, given that like, oh, now that this is common knowledge that like if you just buy every meme coin like in expectancy over history you're gonna win, then like people are gonna start just launching random shit coins and like rug you, and like it'll become more efficient, even though like because everyone knows it basically. Like, I mean,
yeah, but it's already there though. Like, but if you launch a, like, Alex, if we go out and we take I forget who had that tweet the other day, if we launched a meme coin in 27 seconds, which we can do, right? And we put it into Uniswap, somebody's going to buy it. Like, there is an MEV bot that is watching all the liquidity ads in Uniswap and is trying to buy that first, like, wants to be first. So it's already out there. It's common knowledge, right? I think like that the edge is just like being able to hold, because most people, even those MEV bots, like, and again with Shiba, like I know a lot of people who like bought Shiba day one or first week and would be hundreds of millions of dollars, but they sold. They took 30 grand, 20 grand, and they're like, oh, okay, that's enough. Like, most people just sell out. They don't hold. The thing about Pepe is like this 2-week period is just so short of a period that like, you just ride the wave, the biggest fucking wave ever.
You don't have time to dump. You don't get tested.
Exactly.
That's something that actually to a lot of people is like, I mean, this is something that like I did for the first time too. I just deployed a random coin on Arbitrum because the fees were a lot cheaper, and I was just like some liquidity, and I just wanted to see like if people would buy it. I didn't chill it at all, but I was just like curious. Of course, there were like 5 or 6 just random people just come in and just buy a little bit of the coin. I think like, I mean, it's not financial advice, but like if you can figure out how to deploy a coin, your own coin, and just be very, very opportunistic about like when it's something, let's like Elon tweets something and then you like create a coin and launch it. Like, it could pop off. Who knows? Like, it's an asymmetric upside bet that like anyone can do. So
Yeah. I don't know. It just creates such like wacky situations. Like when I'm still just thinking about Pepe and less on like creating your own little thing, but the move up to 1.6 billion in like 2 weeks, my understanding was like that created a situation where funding rates were negative because everybody was taking shorts. So if you were long Pepe, you should have sold all your coins and then put it into perps and made like so like
or just lock it in, right?
yeah. I don't know. It's just like it is fun to just like have these like really violent moves because like it creates these like whole situations that like play out in like decades in TradFi.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
I'm kind of curious while you have in November you did that great Uniswap thread. I'm curious whether there was any fallout from that or any follow-up.
I did a few others just looking at like the sort of sizing on there. I guess the takeaway, I think like Uniswap LPs have over the past 4 months, last time I checked, especially with like meme coin launches. Like I think if you LP'd a lot of these coins, then like you've generated some good volume depending on the fee schedule you've used. I still think it's probably not a good move for like generating yield, unless you're doing it very tactically as a trader. But yeah, that's my take on Uniswap.
And what about the? I know you were one of the ones leading the Arbitrum 1.5.
Yeah,
or 1.1
1.05.
AIP 1.05. What have you thought about their changes since then?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people thought that like what I proposed in 1.05 would like defund the foundation and like basically like they thought of me just like trying to troll the foundation or something. And like I wanted to make clear that like we still wanted to go through those things. Like the foundation obviously needs to be funded, but it's just like you need to respect like the proper governance steps. And you've been delaying by a few months. Like what if you overreach like the power of governance, then like you have to like take serious steps to make it correct. So that was what like the proposal was trying to do. It didn't pass. Like I understand the reasons why I didn't, because it wasn't like maybe not practical for the foundation, but like I was a little disappointed for sure in like the real like power and value of governance tokens. And I think it could actually explain that we've rejected a lot of the alts and governance tokens in favor of meme coins, because like it kind of showed that governance tokens were just meme coins, like crazy meme coins after all.
Yeah, that is. I think you're right there. So we got one question from our listeners, John, who wants to get your opinion on the UniV3 liquidity management system. So Gamma, Arrakis, I know there's a few other ones as well too. Do you think these are like fixes for some of the issues that you brought up with Uniswap?
Yeah, I think they are. Like Swap, I really like them. Also with the project Yam was working on, I forgot what it was called. I shouldn't remember. But like basically what they do is they sort of offset, because right now the issue with Uniswap is that there's too much supply of liquidity versus demand. So anything that artificially removes the supply should bring LPs like more back into equilibrium. It means like worse liquidity technically for everybody. So like how Gamma Swaps is that like you can actually short the token, so you can burn the LP token, and then you pay the yield that it would have earned. Yeah, if you think that there's too much supply, then this is actually quite a profitable thing to do. And even though it's worse for swappers because they get less liquidity, it's better for LPs and it brings everything closer to the equilibrium that it should be. So I think it is a good solution. It just depends on how many people they can get to use it, because it is kind of like a complex and complicated sort of mechanism that they use. So yeah, UX from I think.
Yeah. Well, cool. I think that's probably a good place to wrap up on. This was really nice. Thank you for coming on, Alex, at such short notice. This was some great commentary. There's one part that we're going to clip out in the beginning about the meme coins and stuff. So we'll have it up on Twitter soon. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is great. We'll have it up on Spotify, YouTube. Make sure to follow us at Leviathan News on Twitter. And did I miss anything, Garrett?
Until the next tide.
Oh, there we go. All right. Thank you, everybody.